All right, hello, Chelsea here, and I'm going to be giving you a health update. So I figured since my name on my social medias is literally the Ivy journey, I can't include my health journey in that. So um, I'm going to kind of give you like as quick as I can, like a roundabout of just kind of everything, things that I've been dealing with in the past, and some things that I've done to try to like find answers or to like heal myself or whatever. And then my most recent appointment that I had with a doctor that I actually really love, the first doctor that I've found that I feel like actually wanted to sit down and talk to me and really dive into issues that I've been trying to find answers to for so long and have not. So, to start, I'm going to tell you just a little bit background with me, so you know like where I come from. So I'm 33 years old currently. I have two children. They are 11 and 13, which is crazy to even say that. And I have been having some issues. Some of them I've been trying to find answers to for probably at least like 6 years, 6 to 10 years. And then some things I've had ongoing literally since I was in like middle school, and just I don't know, I've never really found true answers to them, and I feel like just everything is kind of like combined, and I've made progress or like started incorporating things, that I thought would help some of my symptoms, and like I've just felt worse, like gotten worse. And so yeah, I've seen many doctors. I've been in therapy, and a lot of like all my previous doctors have tried to just like, throw prescriptions at me, and just really try to mask the symptoms that I've been having. And I am not okay with that. I really want to find out, like what is causing the symptoms and actually be able to fix those and not just like throw a mask on it and try to, avoid it. And I found a local doctor that is kind of the best of both worlds because they are a PCP, so they take my insurance, but they also focus on like functional and holistic medicine, which just means that they look at the body as a whole and they try to find the root cause of things instead of just, like I said, like throwing prescriptions at you and just, trying to mask your symptoms, which is what every other doctor has tried to do. So, I had a whole bunch of labs recently done 3 weeks ago, and then I went back and my doctor went over everything. Like, she literally did, I have 4 pages, like a front and back of all the labs that she did. So I will tell you about like what I found out, but I'm going to first tell you like some of the symptoms and things that I've been dealing with. So I've had joint pain that comes and goes. I've literally been dealing with it since I was in middle school. I first noticed it in my knees whenever I was like around 11, because that's when I was like getting into like athletics and I was running more. I wanted to eventually be in cross country, so I was like running with my dad, and I first noticed that like my knees hurt a lot, and sometimes they would swell up. I got told that I had tendonitis, and basically what they tell you is just, avoid the things that hurt. You can try putting like ice or heat on them, and then taking like ibuprofen as needed. And the pain just continued to get worse over time. And it's literally like running, jumping, squats, going up or down stairs. So if I just like omitted things, I wouldn't be able to really do anything. So, and I refuse to just like not do physical activity just because my knees hurt. So I've just been dealing with the pain for 20 plus years at this point. Um, and that is one thing that I've brought up several times, because it was just getting like worse. And I was really scared I was going to have like knee surgery or something. And they're actually they sound disgusting. Let's see if we can. They sound gross. So, whatever that is, I've had them x rayed multiple times. I've had an MRI done, and no real answers. So, like, it doesn't show anything, but I'm like, what? Okay. Um, so yeah, so that's joint pain has been something that's been going on for a long time. I've also always had irregular periods, literally since I started, like in the very, like when I first had my cycle as, a young teen. So and I think I started mine like around 12. So back then, and it's kind of like the same now, where sometimes I would have 2 periods in a month. Sometimes I would completely skip a month. Like I literally never knew when I was going to start. And back then I didn't have like really any other symptoms other than an irregular period. I didn't have like the cramping and like mood swings and any of that. It was just like sporadic. And then at 15, I got on birth control, and I mainly wanted to be on birth control to be able to know when my period was going to be because it was really annoying, just a mystery all the time. So I was on birth control from 15 to 19, and then I got off birth control and then tried to get pregnant. I got pregnant basically right away, had my first kid. And then I think I was like on the pill for a little bit after that, got off again, got pregnant again. After my second kid, I tried the Mirena IUD. That was awful. I only had it for like 10 months. It made me like, I was basically bleeding all the time. Very, very intense mood swings. And then ended up being like, my husband could like feel the little like metal wire thing that comes down. And so I went to go tell them, just like, please just like take it out. And I got told that it was not incorrectly, and I could have actually gotten pregnant while on that. So I'm so thankful I got it taken out. That was miserable. And then I've also donated my eggs 2 times, which that is also um, a lot of like, it really messes with your hormones and stuff because they put you on birth control so they can figure out when your period is, and then you take a bunch of injections, like hormonal injections, in order to make your eggs like develop, because you have a lot in your ovaries every month, but really only like one or two will, get mature in preparation to be, to try to make a baby. But then when you're donating your eggs, or like you going through like IVF or whatever, all the stuff that they give you makes all the ones that are usually in there like be mature so they can like pull them out. So anyways, that was like a roller coaster of emotions and stuff. And then after that, um, my husband got a vasectomy. So that was back in, I think it was the end of 2017, I think. So I have not been on any birth control at all since like 2018. And I really thought that just, not being on any type of birth control or whatever, my body would just regulate and be normal. But it has not. And I still have irregular periods. I go anywhere from like 33 days to like 55 days in between. It's not consistent. I don't think I've ever gone more than 3 months in a row where they were consistent. And then I've been told that I have PMDD, which I think stands for premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, which is basically just all those annoying symptoms that women usually have, like right before they start their period and like on their period, where their mood swings and um, like hot flashes, or the cramping or anything like that. Usually you only have that for a very short amount of time, but I have like all those symptoms basically all month, which like the luteal phase is usually the worst, and my luteal phase is really long and definitely makes me feel crazy. I have hot flashes, night sweats, the mood swings. Yeah, so all that. I've been told I have PMDD. And then they tell you for that is either or both to prescribe you antidepressants or birth control, which I don't want to be on either one of those. And it really does not make sense for me to be on birth control if I don't need to be, because my husband took care of that. So, and now that there's so many studies come out that like birth control is actually not good for you. So, yeah, I'm definitely not going to do that now. That just does not make sense to me. Um, so that's like another thing that I've been dealing with for a very long time. Um, and then I have a lot of headaches, especially recently. For some reason, I've had like a daily headache for like a month or longer. I don't know. Um, Fatigue is a really, really big one. My fatigue and my anxiety are the two things that honestly feel like debilitating at this point, because I'm so tired. No matter how much I sleep, I could literally sleep 12 hours at night and wake up and be like, I want to take a nap. Um, so fatigue, anxiety, my anxiety has been really bad. And that's another thing that has just like gotten worse, even though I've taken steps to try to get better. Like I was like, oh, maybe it's just all in my head. Maybe it's just, my mental stuff that I just need to take care of. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to start going on walks every day, like outside. So I'm getting sun exposure and being outside in nature and stretching and journaling and listening to affirmations, you know, taking baths here and there and like really trying to reduce my stress. And it's like I was doing all these things. I did it like consistency for over 2 months and still like I don't feel better. um, so I was really feeling like I'm crazy, honestly. I've been having a lot of nightmares and very vivid dreams, but I also stopped smoking weed, which supposedly, when THC is leaving your system, that is a side effect of that, and it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So, hoping that gets better. Overall, not sleeping well. Like, I just don't feel rested. Like, a lot of like tossing and turning at night. I have basically no appetite. I just like don't feel hungry, don't want to eat. Food doesn't sound good. Low libido. I definitely noticed that after I stopped smoking weed, like it basically just plummeted. And that's really disappointing. Um, I get lightheaded easily, so anytime I like stand up too fast, or if I'm doing like squats or deadlifts, anything like that, definitely feel like I'm about to just black out. Um, I've had really weird, like this really weird foot pain that randomly came up. It's like in this part of my foot, just random. That kind of goes along with like joint pains because I have had, like at one point, I thought I was getting like carpal tunnel in my wrists and hands because like they can like randomly start hurting. Um, the mood swings, of course, without it's like all with like the hormonal type stuff. Um, I have had swollen lymph nodes on the side of my neck, which something that's been many years now. It swelled up really big after I got sick one time, and it was just like a regular cold, but it got like really big and painful, and then it never really completely went down. Like I can feel it all the time, but if I get sick, it gets bigger. That really, really worried me. I did have it sonogrammed many years ago, and they basically just told me that sometimes lymph nodes swell up and then they just stay like that. And that was it. And I was like, okay, but there has to be a reason why. And like, I don't know. So that's just like been another like weird symptom. Things that I've technically been like diagnosed with in the past would be my tendonitis, the PMDD, and severe anxiety that can like lead to depression. So all these things, like I said, have just been like ongoing, and I've made a lot of changes, like I told you, like trying to like go on walks and stretch and all this type of stuff. I also mainly drink water, and we have like a water filter, so it's clean water, and been drinking like electrolytes, and we don't really eat out or go eat fast food. It's like 1 to 2 times a month. And I do work out like at least a couple times a week. Um, and what else? What else have I done? Oh, so I stopped drinking alcohol like over a year and a half ago. Stopped smoking weed. I've been to therapy many times in the past. Reducing my overall toxins like in our home. Like I don't use like really toxic stuff like in our daily use like products, like no bleach or pneumonia or like anything like that in our cleaners. Like I switched to safer products for like our skincare and hair care and like all that type of stuff. I've like tried journaling, laying in the sun to try to like boost my vitamin D. I also have like a red light, which I use like if I ever take a bath. So I'm taking a bath in like Epsom salts and like using red light therapy. Um, yeah, so those are all things that I thought, oh, and like reading, listening to podcasts, stuff like that, that I was just like, okay, like this should be helping. um, and just overall, I just deeply feel like something is wrong. And I've been to the doctor um, several times over the years, like telling them, like, I really feel like something is off. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm like deficient in something. I don't know if it's my hormones. I don't know if it's my cortisol, but like something is off. And I even specifically asked, not my very current doctor that just did all these labs, but my previous one before that. I even like specifically asked her to check my hormones and will you check my cortisol? She straight up told me she would not check my cortisol, that she would have to refer me out, which I thought was just bizarre. And she did check my hormones, but if you feel like your hormones are off, I just learned this. I've been to so many doctors, and this one was the very first one to tell me when you are getting your hormones checked, not only does it need to be in the morning before 10 a.m. and fasting, but you're supposed, for women at least, because we have a cycle, it needs to be during your luteal phase because our hormones fluctuate so much throughout different stages. And that is the time that they're supposed to check it and be able to be like, okay, are the numbers where they're supposed to be? No other doctor has ever told me that or said that. So any other time that I've had my hormones checked, it didn't really matter because they had no idea what stage of my cycle I was even in because I never even asked. So that is very important to know. So yeah, I've had so many previous things done. I also have been like referred to rheumatology before. And I just really did not like that doctor. And she just like didn't even seem to care. She literally spent maybe 5 minutes with me, didn't even like examine me. So I don't know. I've just been like really annoyed with my previous doctors. And again, I was really just starting to think like I'm crazy. Like it's all in my head. Okay. So, anyways, when I found this new doctor, I was like, I'm going to give it one more shot because they actually take my insurance and they look at health, holistically, which is really what I wanted. And to find both of those together is really hard. So I had previously reached out to like a holistic doctor. They usually do not take your insurance. And it's very expensive. So most people cannot even go to those type of doctors that look at it holistically and really take the time to deep dive into your health, because I got quoted like $450 just for like an initial visit. And I was like, and that's not counting, any previous or like visits you would have after that. That's not including like any supplements or anything like that. It was just like the first initial visit with like the testing. So I just like could not previously do it. So I was so thankful to find this doctor. So I'm going to tell you what I found out because I just got all these. So I'll start off with the good. My kidneys, my liver, my electrolyte levels, my thyroid all look good. Great. My cholesterol looks good. So that's all great news because I also have a lot of autoimmune disorders on my mom's side of the family. There's Hashimoto's, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, MS. All those things are like autoimmune stuff and all on my mom's side of the family. And so I was really worried that a lot of my symptoms were going to be like thyroid related, which I really didn't want because basically, like, if that is an issue, you have to get put on medication for life, basically. So I'm really glad that my thyroid looks okay. And then what I found out was that I am vitamin D deficient, which I expected. I have been told that in the past, which this is another really important thing. If you find out you're vitamin D deficient, which Most people are, because we don't go outside enough, we don't get it enough in our diet. But if you are taking a vitamin D supplement, it not only needs to have K2 in it, but you also need to take it with a high fat meal. So avocados, coconut oil, something that is like a very fatty meal, you need to take it together, because if you're not doing it together, then your body is not absorbing it. And again, I knew about the K2 part of vitamin D, but I've never been told that you need to take it with a fatty meal until this doctor. So I've previously been prescribed like the super high dose vitamin D, which it didn't have K2 in it, and was not taking it with a fatty meal. So my body was not even absorbing it correctly. So that is very important to note. I'm also a little low on B12, or B12, iodine, and selenium. So those are things that I need to add more into my diet. Also vitamin or iron. I'm low on iron. So I was told, obviously, like you can eat like more red meats, cooked with like a cast iron pan. But also she suggested I could take like the beef liver capsules, which I've never taken those before. So yeah, these ones are all kind of like supplements or like diet related. Also selenium. She told me I could just eat literally 2 Brazil nuts a day, and that would be enough selenium that I need for the entire day. Iodine, I need more of that, which you can get it in like seaweed, ionized and salt with iodine in it. What else? She actually said I could increase my cholesterol, which this is another thing that's really important to know, because a lot of doctors will come back and say you have high cholesterol, but they really need to break it down and look at all the different forms, because if you're being told your cholesterol is high and then you get put on like statins that lowers it, you could also have the risk of later developing like Alzheimer's and dementia, because your brain needs healthy fat. So she actually told me to eat more fat, like healthy fats, because although mine is like good, she's like, you could actually have it be higher, which previously my doctor had told me that it was a little high. So I just found that very interesting, because she was like, no, when you look at this, your bad cholesterols are like really low, and like your good one could actually be more. So more healthy fats. This was very eye-opening. So we're talking about hormones, where I really felt like something was wrong with my hormones. I found out that I am very estrogen dominant, very much so, that I am like producing over twice as much as what I should be. And then my progesterone and what's the other one? Testosterone. My progesterone and testosterone, they're not like super low, but they could actually go up more. So there is a supplement that she told me that I can take that will help block estrogen. It doesn't completely make me stop creating it, but it can help block it. And then with all these other changes, like my body can start to produce more of the testosterone and progesterone. So that was something that I was like so relieved to find out, because I was like, no wonder I feel crazy all the time. Okay, so I have previously had, because my previous doctor had done an ANA test, an ANA, which she did it because I was complaining of the joint pain, okay, which it stands for, hold on, I wrote it down, where it is somewhere, anti-nuclear antibody titer, okay, which is a very vague test, which they say if you come back positive, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have something, but it's kind of just like a basis for them to see like something fishy is going on in your body. So I had this done back in 2023. Okay, and just to show you like how the test is, if it's less than 140, it's negative. If it's between 40 and 80, it's low. And then if it's greater than the 80, you are high on the test. Okay. So in 2023, I came back right at the 180. So, like, right at it, the very beginning of it being high. And then in February of this year, I went back and just to do like my regular follow up with my doctor. And I was like, can you check that again? And she didn't even want to, but she was like, I will if you want me to. And I was just, because I was just curious, like, did it get better? Because at that point, I actually was feeling better joint wise. I had started taking a berberine supplement, and it basically got rid of my joint pain in my knees. Like, especially just like the day-to-day stuff, they still would get painful if I really, did some like really physical activity, like if I went for a run or something like that, where it's really like impactful. They would still hurt a little bit, but they were significantly better. They weren't swelling up anymore. So I was like, oh, I think like maybe it's better. So I asked her to retest it. And funny enough, it came back as a 320, significantly higher than the 80. And so I was like, that's weird. And I like brought it up to her, and she was like, okay, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have anything like autoimmune related or whatever, but I can refer you to rheumatology. And I was like, yeah, please, because like that's suspicious. Why would it be so much higher even though I felt better, like joint wise, right? So that's when I got referred to rheumatology, and she did a whole bunch of tests on me, and she said everything came back normal. And I don't understand how to read any of the test results, so I can't really tell you. There were some things that to me looked kind of suspicious, but she was like, whatever. And I just really did not like this doctor. So, anyways, this new doctor did the same test, the ANA test on me, and it still came back as the 320. So, it's still very high, and it's like broken down into two other things, and they both say high. And so, she is also referring me to rheumatology, but a completely different doctor that she has actually worked with and trusts, and is a doctor like her that will actually try to find the root cause of what's going on. Because yeah, this last rheumatology doctor, she also sent me to get x-rays of my knees. And of course they came back like showing nothing, which I knew they were going to. I've had them x-rayed and MRI'd in the past. So, but this is basically saying that like my body is attacking itself in some way for some reason, and we don't really know why. So, some type of like, which is like autoimmune stuff. That's like what rheumatology really deals with. But there's so many things um, that it could be related to that we don't know. So we're going to dive deeper into that part of it. So I don't still have answers as to that, but I feel so relieved to actually have some type of real answers that make sense as to why I've been feeling the way that I feel. They're all kind of like interconnected with each other, and I have a baseline of where to start. So yeah, I feel so relieved, because yeah, I was recommended to do an anti-inflammatory diet, which I knew that she was going to tell me that, and I have tried to do it in the past. I will be honest, I am awful with diets. I love carbs. I don't like sticking to a meal plan. I don't like cooking. I do cook, but I don't like it. So, and it's all the things that I know that my body needs are things that I don't actually really enjoy. Like I'm not a big steak eater. I've never once in my life craved a steak, regardless of how good the actual meat is, which I need that for my iron. And more fish in my diet. I don't like seafood other than like shrimp. um, Avocados. I don't like avocados unless it's like guacamole. Um, so all these things, and like cutting out carbs and sugars and stuff, that's what I need to do. So I know diet wise, that's going to be the absolute hardest thing for me to do and to stick to, but that's also what my body needs the most. because with my diet changes and a couple of supplements that I can take, that will fix a lot of my issues, and then we can dive deeper and then see if I do happen to have anything that's like autoimmune related. But also, all those changes could, maybe make that scary 320 number go down. I have no idea. Because anything that's like autoimmune related, they will say, that you do need to do the anti inflammatory diet. So, don't know why in particular my body is attacking itself in weird ways. And that's probably why, related to all like the joint pain, the pain in my foot. I don't know if I said this, but I did have an x-ray of my foot because it's that weird pain that just came up out of nowhere. I didn't hurt it in any way. And that also came back completely negative. But I just want to make sure I didn't have like any bone spurs or anything. So the fact that there's pain there and nothing visible, again, is like very consistent with like my knees hurting, my wrist hurting, things like that. So yes, I have a baseline of where to get started and some answers, and I will keep you updated with what we find out. I am scheduled to go back in 3 months to retest my hormones and like the basic things like my vitamin D and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oh, also, oh my gosh, how did I forget? My cortisol. That is another huge thing. My previous doctor would not even test me for. This doctor did, and it is high. I had a very strong feeling that my cortisol level was high, and it is. So, I I asked my doctor, like, what is the very first thing, like, out of all these things that you're recommending me, what is, and all my things that I have, that are low or issues with or whatever, like, what is the first thing that I need to try to control? And she said, we need to get your cortisol levels down because your cortisol affects your adrenal glands, and it also affects your hormones. Um, and also it could be the reason why I don't sleep well, and why I'm so fatigued, and my body is basically just staying in a fight or flight situation. Um, and that, obviously is not good. It's just like, all the time. Also, like, why I have severe anxiety. So that is the number one thing that she was like, we need to get these levels dropped. So she suggested I start taking ashwagandha, which I started taking that 2 days ago. She wants me to take it at night. Because again, like, your body is supposed to be recovering and resting at night when you're sleeping, and my body is clearly not doing that. So I started that 2 days ago. So I'm going to start taking that consistently. And then she also said, things to like clearly try to reduce my stress, which is like things that you can do that she suggested. It would be grounding, which I wish that my yard was a good yard to walk in, and I would walk in it barefoot every day, because I know that that is something that you can be doing. But my backyard is covered in dog shit, and my front yard is covered in stickers, so I can't I can't do that. Taking like baths, or even doing like foot baths with like Epsom salts and stuff before bed, trying to like really relax myself. Obviously, breathing, deep breathing into the belly, that triggers your vagus nerve. She even said like ice baths, like even if it's just on my face, which I do actually have a little cold plunge inflatable thing that I have been too scared to use. But maybe I need to start doing that legit. So yeah, that is the number one thing that I need to tackle, is my cortisol levels, to get those down, work on my diet, and doing some supplementation for vitamin D. Yeah, and then we'll go from there. And I will be retested in 3 months to see if all that helps, and then also being referred to rheumatology to see if we can figure out why my body is attacking itself for whatever reason. So that was a lot. That was a lot more than I wanted to speak. I was trying to do this very quickly, and I just blabbled on too much. So anyways, if you have any questions, any recommendations, I'd love to hear it all. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll keep you updated. Bye.